Hi, are your plants collapsing or drooping, like this one? Do you buy small plants in pots, but when they need larger containers, they are not as happy after being repotted? Is this because you don't know which potting mix to choose, so you just get anything and hope for the best without feeding your plants? If yes, this video is for you. I'm Jan from sustainablebutterflies.com.au. We are on a mission to make Australian educational, care and other organizations sustainable, frugal and improve their footprint. The link to our website is in the description below. And in this video, we will address what goes wrong if you ignore your specific plant requirements before repotting and planting in containers. Then, we will look at what to consider before making your own potting mix or buying one. Then, we'll go through a step-by-step process of making our own new mix for this plant here because this isn't working. And finally, we will test the pH of the new mix and we'll explain the relationship between pH and nutrients. Before we begin, why do we need to know this stuff? Can't we just get a potting mix? Isn't that what they're for? Well, you can, and it will work for some plants like these. But if you ignore your specific plant needs and just get anything, your plant could end up like this one. And here is why. Different plants have different requirements. For example, succulents and orchids need extremely well-draining media, and you can buy specially blended mixes for them in your hardware store. But our plant, our top-heavy plant, Dieffenbachia, which will grow up to 2 meters, needs a well-drained media as well as a support and base. Because it's top heavy, it will grow up to 2 meters. And there is no such thing as specially blended mix we can just buy off the shelf. Other plants, like these peace lilies, small, not top heavy desktop plants, will happily grow in a premium potting mix. The point is, by assessing your plant needs before getting the supplies, you will save money, time, energy, and your plants will be happy. And they won't need antidepressants. So what went wrong here? Well, I got this plant Dieffenbachia about a year ago. It was about this big in a small pot, and it being a fast grower, it needed repotting around Christmas. So I got a larger pot and repotted it in a premium potting mix, which is good potting mix as it contains controlled release fertilizer for about 4 months. But this was the result. And so I've been supporting it with this stick, which is quite pathetic. Also, I haven't been adding any nutrients, and that's likely the reason for drooping. Now, that's quite embarrassing, but let's fix it. Our plants deserve better. Alright, the first step is identifying materials, and we need to start by looking at the specific needs and stage of growth of our plant. We've got this juvenile Dieffenbachia seguin, commonly known as dump cane. It needs well-drained, sandy to loamy soil, pH tending acidic 5.5 to 6.5. Its question is, are we growing it indoors or outdoors? In the landscape or in a pot? We're growing it indoors, in a pot. By the way, it's toxic, so should be kept away from children or pets. Now, in terms of materials, we're going to mix the following materials. Coil Pete, Perlite, I lost, but it's here, coarse sand, and we'll add 4 tablespoons of controlled release fertilizer to add nutrients. And we'll mix them at the ratio 1 part Coil Pete, 1 part Perlite, 1 part coarse sand, and 4 tablespoons of the fertilizer. I'll explain everything as we go. The second step is preparing the materials, and we will start with Perlite. Perlite improves aeration and drainage of the mix by creating tiny air tunnels that allow water and air to flow through to the roots. It is a natural mineral of volcanic origin. The pH is slightly alkaline, unlike all the other components which are a bit acidic. It contains dust which could be irritating, and the label says, wear gloves and keep product moist when handling, wear mask if dusty. I'm outside wearing gloves and I have moistened the product to eliminate the dust. Yeah, so Perlite for aeration and drainage. The second component is Coil Pete. It has a high water holding capacity, which assures that water and nutrients, if they are present, are released without the need for rewatering. It holds up to 8 times its weight in water. It is a natural, renewable soil conditioner and is widely used as an alternative to peat moss, which is non-renewable. The pH of this sponge-like homogeneous material is slightly acidic. Yeah, so Coil Pete for water and nutrient holding capacity. The next is coarse sand. The heaviest ingredient in our mix is good for top-heavy plants that are prone to collapsing, such as ours, as it provides base and support. Aside from this attribute, it gives aeration and drainage, and the particle size matters. The finer the sand, the higher water holding capacity of the mix. The coarser the sand, the higher aeration and drainage. And we have coarse sand according to our plant needs. So sand is for weight, support, aeration and drainage. The pH is slightly acidic. Alright, now we need to add some nutrients for that Coil Pete to hold and release. We will add a controlled release fertilizer, which will add them gradually. They'll be available provided the pH of the mix is right. We will test the pH, but we gotta mix it first. And in terms of the quantities, why 4 tablespoons according to diameter of the pot and the label. And in terms of other quantities, we've got this 12-liter pot, which requires 4 liters of each of these 3 components. Alright, the third step is mixing. And look, it's pretty straightforward. I'm using this material, but you could use bucket or anything. There are just 2 things to say. And by the way, I'm going to take a sample for our pH test later aside. But 2 things to say about mixing. I know we all unique individuals, but when it comes to potting mixes, we are after uniformity. So it needs to be uniformly mixed. And the second thing is, it's recommended to start with fine and light materials and adding the heavier ones towards the end, keeping the mixing time as short as possible after the heaviest ingredients have been added, and that is to protect the fine and light materials, you know. Alright, so let's do planting. I've got to admit one thing, I overestimated the pot size, so I had to cut the pot a bit, about this big, with secateurs. Yeah, anyway, but got the mix in, got the plant here, Diefenbachia. You can see that it doesn't have that sort of expanded root bound structure like some other desktop plants, so that's why also it's prone to collapsing, right? So that's why we need that top heavy ingredients, right? Top heavy mix. So I'm just adding it on top, not too much above the base, right? Because that could then cause the stem rot. But the most important thing is that it stands upright, reasonably upright, and yeah, it will take some time for the nutrients to kick in. The drooping should cease and should have nice upright position. But yeah, the main point was the potting mix for today. Alright, the final step is pH. So we're gonna test pH right now. I have taken a sample from our mix. This is the sample from our mix, and I'm using this pH kit. I wouldn't recommend using the probe that you punch in the soil and gives you instant reading, because they're very inaccurate. Yeah, so I'm just adding a little bit of this solution according to what's in the kit. Then the next step is make a little paste out of it. Right, so I'm doing that, making a little paste. Yeah, this looks like reasonably good paste. And then the final step is you puff this barium powder on top and wait 60 seconds, and we'll wait what color we get. Okay, so yeah, counting 60 seconds, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. 60 seconds just passed, and you can see that it's 5.5, between 6 and 5.5, so let's call it 5.5. And pH is quite, so that's within the range. If you remember before, we said Dieffenbachia's requirements is between 5.5 to 6.5, tending acidic. So we have that, and we need to actually explain why pH is important. Well, you want the pH of your potting mix to be around 5.7. And why is that? Well, as you can see on the screen, the chart shows, it's called Drooping chart, that within certain range, the nutrients are available for the plants. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the right pH that you test in your soil is evidence for the nutrients present. I know it's a bit confusing, let me know in the comments, maybe I'll do a video about it. Yeah, anyway, I used to get this wrong. Think of the right pH as a gateway for the nutrients that must be in the soil or in the potting mix for pots to be available. So that's the important metric, right? It's not evidence that nutrients are there. Yeah, pH is quite a big deal. Wow, you made it till the end. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. If you got some value out of this, consider giving it thumbs up or subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. We are sustainable butterflies, and who are we doing this for? For the environment, future generations, plants, trees, animals, including these. You have a great day.